Well, it's going to be a great night as we head to the grand ballroom of the Sheraton Centre for the 52nd Siemens Conn Smythe Sports Celebrity Dinner and Auction. I'm Chris Cuthbert of CBC and Hockey Night in Canada. Proud to be the host for the very first time for this event, but I could use some advice from experienced veterans of this dinner like Alex Creighton and Michael Kuipers, last year's Easter Seals ambassadors. And Alex, can you believe it's been a year since you were named an ambassador?
No, I can't. I've had so much fun. I've met so many great people. And I remember when I first came here, I was all excited. I know that all the ambassadors will have lots of fun, and I really hope they have lots of fun, and it's great. It's
going to be exciting. Michael, what about a memory from last year's dinner?
Well, a really good memory would be meeting all the hockey stars, and especially Guy Lafleur and Daryl Sittler. They were really nice. It was a really great event. Oh, yeah.
And there's more great stars to meet tonight. Now, this is my first time. You've been here before. Any advice?
Well, you should straighten your tie.
I should, shouldn't I? How about from you, Michael?
Well, you just have to have fun.
And we're going to. Let's go have fun at the dinner tonight.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2003 Siemens Conn Smythe Sports Celebrities Dinner and Auction in support of the Easter Seal Society Ontario. And now, please welcome tonight's head table.
Welcome. We're going to have a great time here this evening. My name is Jerry Dobson. I'm with Rogers Sportsnet, and it is my pleasure and my duty to kick things off here this evening. And we are going to have a lot of fun here supporting Easter Seal children once again, as we do each and every year. You want comedy? You wait until you hear from our guest speaker this evening. You want excitement? Wait till you see what we've got in store in our live auction. You want drama? Wait till you see and hear the speeches from our ambassadors this year. It's not to be missed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, many of you may be aware that the sports world and all of us here lost a great friend recently in the sudden passing of Dick Chatto, former great CFL player with the Toronto Argonauts from the 1960s, passed away at the age of 69 at his home in Florida. He was a tremendous player in the CFL, a tremendous person off the field. He was sort of the Mike Pinball Clemens of his era, if you will. Those of us who knew him will know that for sure and know what I'm talking about. And tonight we would like to, in his honor, dedicate this dinner. He was at this dinner several times as a head table guest, and we would like to dedicate this dinner in his honor for Dick Chatto. Now, you've seen the wonderful head table that we have lined up here for you this evening. Now, it's time to get to meet them. On my extreme left, a career .302 hitter, the left fielder for the Toronto Blue Jays. Please say hello to Shannon Stewart. Ladies and gentlemen, rather than make you stand through all this, you're welcome to be seated if you like. Pardon me. Head table guests, you have to remain standing. From our silver medal winning Canadian national junior team from last month, Kitchener Rangers forward Gregory Campbell. He's a Hall of Famer from the Montreal Canadiens, and of course he was a member of Team Canada 1972. Say hello to Yvan Cournoyer. He's a former NHL defenseman, the 13th captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Rob Ramage. A defenseman with this year's national junior team and the Kitchener Rangers, Steve Eminger. St. Louis Blues defenseman, former winner of the Norris and Hart trophies, perhaps the tallest man at the table, Chris Pronger. She captured the hearts of all Canadians along with the rest of her team members at the Under-19 Women's World Soccer Championships in Edmonton this past summer, Cara Lang. Our 2003 Easter Seal Ambassador, and we'll hear from her a little later. Please welcome Amber Pelzer. A man who really does not need much of an introduction, star of Coach's Corner, of course, former NHL coach, man about town, Don Cherry. Now to my immediate right, also our 2003 Easter Seal Ambassador, and you'll get to hear from him a little later. Please welcome Tom Garside. The coach of the Toronto Argonauts, one of this city's all-time fan favorites, Mike Pinball Clemens. A Hockey Hall of Famer and one of the NHL's most prolific scorers, not a bad golfer also. Please say hello to Marcel Dion. She's a native of Richmond Hill from the World Wrestling Entertainment. Please welcome Trish Stratus. Looking forward to another baseball season. A couple of weeks they'll hit training camp. The 9th field manager in the history of the Toronto Blue Jays. On our head table this year, Carlos Tosca. Another member of our World Junior Hockey team, a forward with the Kitchener Rangers. Please say hello to Derek Roy. Hall of Fame goaltending great with the Montreal Canadiens, and now the president, of course, for the last few years of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Ken Dryden. And I wonder if the name Ken Thompson is going through his mind right now. Star defenseman with the National League Lacrosse champion Toronto Rock. Please welcome Pat Coyle. He's an outfielder, and he's also a catcher with the Toronto Blue Jays. I wonder what Carlos Tosca has in store for him this year. Please welcome Jason Worth. Ladies and gentlemen, your head table for 2003. And my final duty this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is to introduce your MC for this evening. We know him as play-by-play man on the CFL and Hockey Night in Canada as well on the CBC. His broadcasting career started on radio station CFRC in Kingston, where he did play-by-play of the Golden Gales while he was also attending Queen's University. After graduation, it was off to Montreal, the radio voice of the Alouettes, soon to be the Montreal Concord. Remember that team? This gentleman does. As well as the Manique of the NASL. In 1984, he joined CBC in Edmonton, and since then we have enjoyed his coverage of football, hockey, figure skating. Last winter in Salt Lake City was his 7th Olympic Games. He's probably one of Canada's most versatile sportscasters. He's done just about everything in his career. He lives in Brampton. He's a Gemini Award winner as Best Sportscaster in 1999. A warm welcome, everybody, to this evening's MC, Mr. Chris Cuthbert.
Thank you, Jerry, for those kind words. And head table guests, you can be seated. And Jerry, I think it's safe to say that you and I don't look quite as good behind the Sportsnet podium as Jody and Hazel do. Thank you, though, and a special thanks to last year's terrific ambassadors, Alex and Michael, who helped us with the opening video. Good evening, everybody. It's certainly an honor and a privilege to be your MC for the 52nd Siemens Conn Smythe Sports Celebrity Auction and Dinner. As you know, it is the richest, the oldest, and the best. Wait a minute, that's my intro for Don Cherry. Sorry. Actually, Don was a little late getting to our gathering upstairs. He got caught in traffic. I was a little concerned he didn't think he was on until the first intermission. But as you know, it is the oldest and biggest sports dinner of its kind in Canada, an event that has raised close to $4 million since its inception. And a reminder that there's a silent auction and a live auction which will take place tonight, and we have a special feature for you this evening. You will have the opportunity to bid on both the Buffalo Sabres and the Ottawa Senators. And based on the news today, you might get a piece of the Leafs too. Well, one of the reasons this is such a prestigious event is that it was named for the legendary founder of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And we all know what Conn Smythe's famous motto was: if you can't beat 'em in the alley. Well, with the likes of Chris Pronger, Rob Ramage, Pat Coyle, Don Cherry, and especially Trish Stratus, we've got a lineup that can definitely handle themselves in an alley. You have to figure that Conn Smythe is looking down tonight with a smile on his face, knowing that we have a winner tonight. And I've been told that I'll be in the alley if I don't have everybody out of here by 10:45. I'm just back from Florida on the NHL All-Star Weekend. It's certainly nice to be at an event where all the hockey stars actually showed up. We have a terrific showcase of talent from the entire sports community, but consider the hockey roster that we have up here. Our head table guests have combined to win just about all of the NHL's major hardware. Chris Pronger, the Hart for MVP and the Norris as the best defenseman. Marcel Dion, the Art Ross Trophy winner as the leading scorer in the National Hockey League and the Lady Byng winner as the most gentlemanly player. Ken Dryden, the Calder as top rookie, the Vezina, best goaltender, and like Yvan Cournoyer, the Conn Smythe Trophy winner as the MVP of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Don Cherry, the Jack Adams as top coach. We have the current captain of the St. Louis Blues and a former captain of both the Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens. And of course, these gentlemen have combined for 17 Stanley Cups. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an all-star lineup. Rogers Cable is here again to televise the dinner, and Argo head coach Pinball Clements is with us as well. By the way, the Argos, I'm told, wanted the dinner blacked out tonight, but then they changed their minds. Great to see Ken Dryden of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment here. We had hoped to have some Raptors with us, but most of their 10-day contracts would have expired before Ken was finished tonight. Well, it has been quite a year for the City of Toronto. Over the last 12 months, there have been visits from arguably the three most famous people in the world, other than Don Cherry. We've had the Queen, the Pope, and Muhammad Ali. Three major news stories. And there was the biggest story of them all, that Ron MacLean was, then wasn't, leaving Hockey Night in Canada. Nelson Millman of the Fan 590 approached me about hosting this dinner as the MacLean story was breaking. That same day, the National Post listed me as an 89-1 shot to replace Ron and join Don in the coach's corner. So apparently Nelson likes a long shot and offered me the MC gig. That was a nice vote of confidence considering the Post's odds and the fact that a Toronto Star poll on who Ron's replacement should be was won hands down, so to speak, by Ed the Sock. Now, beaten by a stinking sock can be a humbling, if not career-altering experience. I'm happy to say I'm over it now. I've come to terms with the fact that Ed the Sock and Grapes might have a lot going for each other. You could even say they were made for each other. There's Don's already established marketing campaign, Rock'em Sock'em. For something different, they could be billed as the hose and the hoser. Or maybe the foot and the mouth. And admit it, you've all probably watched at least one Coach's Corner over the years when your reaction has been, put a sock in it. Still ahead tonight, we'll meet Tom and Amber. They're our 2003 Easter Seals ambassadors. Glenn Foster, that Canadian guy, will provide the real comedy for the evening, and we'll have interviews with all the head table celebrities. Something special, by the way, planned for a little later tonight, and much more. Please enjoy your appetizers, and as you do, we're going to join Greg Manzik on the array of memorabilia and one-of-a-kind items available in tonight's silent auction.
Welcome back to the silent auction room. Yes, very good, yes. Come on in and see us. There's no one in here. Thank you very much, Mr. Clemens. This is part of the Argonaut package. Mike Pinball Clemens autographed bobblehead and team autographed ball. We also have a Mike Vanderjagt autographed jersey, and right now there's a Mr. Manning who has the top bid. I'm not sure what that is, but come on in and see us. Again, the first auction will close at 8 p.m. That's items number 1 to 200. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about is our business card draw. Just outside the main ballroom, we have a business card raffle, which we will be doing at the end of the night. And it is for this item right here, the Sony Clé. I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced. It's a personal entertainment organizer. We will be giving this away this evening. Right now, the hockey sticks are not being bid on at all. We have all the top stars in the NHL. Please come on in and see us. 42 minutes till we close silent auction number 1, and we'll be back in just a few.
Now it's time to hear from a few of the great head table guests, and our hosts for the celebrity interviews are two of this city's well-known sports broadcasters. She looks like Gwyneth Paltrow. He looks like Shallow Hal. From Sportsnet, please welcome hockey broadcaster Christine Simpson and the host of the big show on the Fan 590, Gord Stellick. And as Gord makes his way to the podium, actually he's there, let's learn a little bit more about our first celebrity.
The 13th captain in Toronto Maple Leafs history, Rob Ramage remains the only captain to be named before playing a game with the club. A natural leader, Ramage also wore the C in St. Louis and with Colorado, who selected him first overall in the 1979 draft. In 1989, he reached the pinnacle of his career when he won the Stanley Cup as a member of the Calgary Flames. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Ramage.
Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. If we could have everyone's attention for a few minutes, please, because we're going to briefly interview some of our guests that have so graciously given their time for tonight's very worthy cause. So just a couple of minutes. If I could have your attention, please, for a couple of minutes, please. Thank you very much. As we said, former Maple Leaf captain Rob Ramage. Rob, you talk about St. Louis, Colorado. What do you remember your times as a Maple Leaf?
Well, I guess Harold Ballard, they mentioned I was named captain of the Maple Leafs before I ever donned the jersey. I was back home in London visiting my parents right before training camp and had gone for a run on a Sunday morning and stopped off at Max Milk, grabbed the Sunday Star, opened it up, and front page of sports, Ballard names Ramage captain. Hadn't even met my teammates yet. Probably the biggest memory right there.
See, a month earlier, that's how I found out I was out. So that's the paper was the way it would go. We had one brief chat after you came over in the trade, and you'd won a Stanley Cup with the Calgary Flames. And one thing I liked, the last question you asked me, you said, what numbers are available? And I threw some numbers out. Number 8 was available, and you said, that's the ticket. Barclay Plager wore number 8. And we talk about special guys in the game. Obviously, he meant a lot to you. Yeah, Bark the Spark. I'd spent 3 years in Colorado. Grapes, with Grapes 1 year, and it was tough times. I got over to St. Louis. My career was floundering. Barclay Plager was an assistant coach there and took me under his wing and got my career back on track. And we lost Barclay to cancer in 1988. But my son is named John Barclay after my brother and Barclay, two pretty special guys in my life. So he meant a lot to me. Number 5 wasn't available. Barocco had been retired, so number 8 was the number. What was it like? We know a lot of veterans about playing with that Colorado Rocky team with Don Cherry. You're the first overall pick. What's it like being a rookie with Don Cherry's Colorado Rockies? Well, you know what? It was a treat. I learned about how to dress properly. And to try and keep that glass half full, because it was tough times. It was a 21-team league then, and we were number 21. And you know, Grapes had come over from Boston with great expectations. I was first pick overall. We really, truly believed we were going to lead the Rockies to the promised land. You know, I guess my excuse, I was just young and naive. I don't know what Grapes' excuse was. Ray Miron's his excuse. Ray Miron, the carp. But also, we had a goaltender, Hardy, hard-to-hit Ashram. You've probably never heard Grapes talk about him. But, you know, it was a lot of long nights for a young defenseman. I think I was minus 41. I led the league in the minus department that year. But Grapes was good. He used to call me in on a weekly basis and say, "Kid, there's better days ahead." And I got a little skeptical after saying that. I mean, when are those better days ahead going to happen? And for me, it took 10 years, but finally in Calgary, won the Stanley Cup. And I was traded to Toronto, and I came back and did Grapes' show, The Grapevine. And I said, "Grapes, remember, you said to me, you used to say it to me all the time, kid, there's better days ahead." Well, I got the ring to prove it, and you're right. Stanley Cup champion, former Leaf captain, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Ramage.
After being named interim manager of the Toronto Blue Jays in June 2002, Carlos Tosca guided the young club to a strong second half, finishing his first season as a big league manager with a 58-51 record. The accomplishment was not lost on Jays general manager J.P. Ricciardi, who awarded Tosca by removing the interim tag and extending his contract through 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, Carlos Tosca.
Certainly great things hoped and expected from the Toronto Blue Jays in the 2003 season, and Carlos Tosca, their manager, joining us. And you joined us earlier on our radio show on The Fan, and a couple things came up. Number one, it's been a good start. You're a long-suffering Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan.
Absolutely, 27 years, and we're world champions, and we got a chance to repeat next year, I think.
And the best Super Bowl party was at your place.
Absolutely. I'd like to remember it.
The other thing, I think, like a lot of people who are close to the world of sports mentioned, boy, I love it. What would it be like? And you were saying you still pinch yourself sometimes that a guy we really didn't know this time last year has had a real good first half-year run as a manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, and this is what you always dreamt of.
Absolutely. I don't know many people that have an opportunity to fulfill their dream, and I've been blessed to be able to do that, number one. And number two, once you get there and your dream starts fulfilling you, that's when it's real joy. And I've still got a few more accomplishments I think that we'd like to do, but it's been a lot of fun.
What's a Carlos Tosca team?
Well, I think that, if you're in my position and you sit in my chair, that it's really not your team, it's the players' team. And I think it's important that if you're going to get a bus going in the right direction, that you get the right people on the bus. And I certainly think that we're starting to do that. But it's the players' team, and you just want them to play hard. You want them to show up every day and be prepared.
The good news is there's a lot of optimism for this year. I wouldn't say the bad news, but the expectation that is there for the first year for fans in the offseason. How do you make that next step rather than status quo or taking a step back?
Well, I think that, first of all, we have to stay clear of injuries. I think injuries are always an important factor in moving forward, number one. And number two, there comes a point in time where you're kind of on a balance beam. Last year was good towards the end of the year, but we've got to move forward. And at the same time, you can't get so overconfident that you quit working on the things you need to work on. But I think we're heading in the right direction, and I think, as I said before, we got the right people on the bus.
Training camp opens when?
February 15th, pitchers and catchers report, with the first workout being on the 16th. Position players report on the 21st, with the first workout being on the 22nd.
Can't wait for your first full training camp as manager?
It's like the old Carly Simon song, Anticipation. I've been waiting for a long time for this, and I'm finally going to have an opportunity to do it.
I'm glad you didn't sing it. We're looking forward. All the best. Carlos Tosca, the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Thank you.
This solid young defenseman was an assistant captain on Canada's silver medal winning team at the recent World Junior Hockey Championships in Halifax. The 19-year-old Woodbridge native has also spent time this season on the blue line of the Washington Capitals, who selected him with their first pick, 12th overall, in the 2002 entry draft. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Eminger.
You talk about a whirlwind year, Steve. You're pretty well done at all, whether the World Juniors, also playing in the National Hockey League. I want to first ask you about that. Talk about playing in the NHL and also the most difficult position to learn in the NHL, defense.
Yeah, it was definitely difficult, and it was a dream for me growing up to make the NHL, and I made it a little earlier than I expected. So, going to a team like Washington with a bunch of superstars, with Yager, Bondra, Kolzig. It was only about 2 years ago I was still playing street hockey, and I was wearing their jerseys and wanted to be like them, and 2 years later I was playing with them, so it was a different experience.
What's it like back in junior now, is having the NHL experience?
It helps a lot. Definitely in the games it helps a lot with confidence, and you got the experience. You've been watching world-class athletes for 3 months, so it definitely helps out a lot.
Steve, a lot of talk about parents and their roles, and obviously what every hockey parent wants is their kid to turn out like you on and off the ice. And what do you say to parents as far as giving their kid the ultimate hockey experience and obviously being a positive influence like they were for you?
Yeah, like my parents, they've been around. They come to probably every OHL game, and they're even at this event here, so they've been really supportive. And I think that's a key for parents, is to be supportive and help your kid along. And don't push them too much and don't be too hard on them. Just kind of push them enough, what they want to be pushed as.
Now, what about another level? There's the NHL, there's junior. Jason Spezza is one of the first guys that's been able to play in the American Hockey League. Would that be something that maybe, whether it's now or down the road, would appeal to you? As far as the next step, obviously the NHL is the ultimate step, but do you kind of welcome the competition and chance to play at a different level?
Yeah, definitely. There's no reason to be rushed, and if AHL's the next step, then so be it. And you got to kind of progress in that next stage and play against bigger guys and older guys, and NHL would be the next step.
Well, it certainly made a lot of steps this past year, many more to come. Steve Eminger, ladies and gentlemen.
Kara Lang is the youngest soccer player ever to play and score at the international level. She was a key player in the Canadian team that reached the finals of the 2001 FIFA Under-19 Women's Tourney. And the 16-year-old Oakville native scored 4 goals in a game as a member of the senior squad that reached the finals of the Gold Cup this past November. Ladies and gentlemen, Kara Lang.
Well, I'll tell you, some unbelievable memories from the summer. And I don't know, Kara, do you remember, or did you realize the amount of support behind you, whether it was at the stadium or the way Canada got behind the Under-19 team? Were you aware of it at the time?
I think as soon as we stepped out onto the field in that first game and kind of saw the enormous crowd, it kind of hit us. And I think it actually affected the way we played a little bit because it was so unexpected. We were pretty nervous that game. We did not expect it at all, and it was great.
Now, the big question everyone's saying, you're 16 years old. So you're 16 years old, you're the youngest player to score a goal in international competition. Yeah, it was a lot different when I was a kid, too. But what's it like making that adjustment to get that big jump, playing with women, 3-4 years older than you are?
Well, growing up, I've always played on teams older than me, so I'm used to being around people that are older than me. Maybe not 10 years older than me, like with the women's team, but they're very accepting and they're great. It's such an amazing experience to play with players like Charmaine Hooper and Andrea Neal. They're some of the best players in the world, and being in that kind of intensity and that atmosphere, I don't think there's anything better.
Now, I know you're still in high school, but obviously some big soccer events coming up. But what about the future? Are you looking at a scholarship, a pro league? I mean, what are you thinking down the road?
I hope to get a scholarship right now. I have one more year. After that, hopefully the Woosa League will still be around. Right now, they're not too sure if it's going to last or not. But if it lasts, yeah, for sure, I want to play pro.
I'll tell you, Cara, remarkably poised on the field and here tonight as well. You've certainly accomplished a lot for 16 years of age, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Cara Lang, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, time to actually follow, but let's join Chris Cuthbert now in the audience. Chris?
Thanks, Gordon. I noticed that Cara's getting used to having the Kitchener Ranger guys around her, too, but... We all depend on the generosity of everybody in this room for the success of this dinner, and tonight we have a corporate group that is attending their 20th dinner. Certainly one of our outstanding supporters of this event. This rather good-looking and quiet group of 50 are the guests of Stong, Blackburn, Mashon, and Bohm, a law firm in Richmond Hill. Told you they were a quiet group, and here's Ron Bohm. Ron, why is this cause so special to you?
Well, I'll give the credit to our senior partner, Bob Blackburn, who about 20 years ago decided that he wanted to share the success of our little firm from Richmond Hill with some of our good and loyal clients, and what better way to do it than to allow them and us to share in this worthy cause.
Great list of head table guests again this year. Some highlights over the years?
Well, I don't think I'll ever forget Dennis Hall. He's a lot of fun. And certainly the $99,000 weekend with Wayne Gretzky was a momentous event, and I remember his generosity at coming back up to the plate and saying, the person who voted for or bid $98,000, if they want to go, I'll do it twice. And that was quite impressive.
Absolutely, and so is the support of your law firm to this dinner. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Ron Bohm. Now it's time to hear from a few more of our head table celebrities, so I'm pleased to call upon Christine Simpson with our next guests.
An electrifying player throughout his CFL career, Mike Pinball Clemens won 3 Grey Cups with the Argos during the 1990s. Upon retiring in 2000, he moved to the club's front office, and this past season, Clemens returned to the sidelines for a second stint as head coach. Under Clemens, the team went 4-2 down the stretch and made a surprising run to the Eastern Finals. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Clemens.
You absolutely are the quintessential Argo in this town now. But as he also mentioned earlier in the evening, we are remembering the passing of someone who was the quintessential Argo back in the 1960s, Dick Shadow. Pinball, I know you had a chance to meet him. Just your thoughts on what kind of a person he was and certainly what he meant to the Argo organization.
Well, I think my earliest memories of Dick Shadow was as a young player here. I came here my first year. I meet people. They say, "Hey, you're Pinball." And I say, "Yeah." And they says, "Hey, I like the way you play. But you know, my favorite Argo is Dick Shadow." And so I heard that so many times, and it was really a comforting place to be in the shadow of Dick Shadow, if you will. And but as time went on, I actually got a chance to meet Mr. Shadow, and I saw him, and I wanted to tell him all these stories about all the things I had heard about him, and all he wanted to do was talk about me. He was so gracious, and it was a wonderful honor. His wife Lynn, we talked to today on the telephone, and she was saying how proud of an Argonaut he was, and And I think the story was written today, how his ashes are going to be spread in where the old exhibition stadium is. He really meant a lot, was following along. She mentioned how he and I seem to be kindred spirits, and he was a great fan and said that he really was happy that I was going to be the coach again. So for me, I think that made it all worthwhile.
Well, speaking of that, no one can forget you coming in partway through last season, taking over the coaching reins, and the real enthusiasm that you brought to the team, and then you made the decision that you're going to be coach again. How difficult of a decision was that for you?
Very difficult decision, because I wanted to be a part of the vision of the Toronto Argonauts, where we were going as an organization and being out in the community and meeting people. But my wife said that there'll be time for that. She told me that my responsibility was the coach, and sort of Dick Shadow just confirmed that now. So I think I'm where I'm supposed to be for now.
Pinball, I don't think there's anybody else in the community of Toronto that does as much as you do. You give back to the community 10 times over. Why is that so important to you, and what do you get out of it?
I would beg to differ. I think that I'm one of the more spoiled people in the community, because people always say that pinball gives back. I mean, there are a lot of people that work all the time and no one talks about it. And there are our volunteers that help out with our Easter Seals kids on a daily basis, not when the dinner comes up or when a camera's going to be on. They do that on a daily basis. And for me, I do it because I'm selfish. I'm a selfish individual. I find that when you give, you get more than you ever expected in return. I always think I'm going out to give or to help out, and I always find that I get much more in return. There's a saying that you make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. And I think you make your own life by what you give.
I don't think anyone could say it better than Mr. Pinball Clemens. Pinball, thank you so much.
After tallying 62 points and leading the league in plus-minus during the 1999-2000 NHL season, Chris Pronger became the first defenseman since Bobby Orr to win both the Hart and Norris trophies in the same year. And this past winter, the Dryden, Ontario native was a member of Canada's gold medal-winning Olympic hockey team. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Pronger.
Is certainly Easter Seals gain. Chris, we're thrilled that you could be here with us this evening. Now, unfortunately for you, it's an injury that allows you to be here. First of all, let's get a bit of an injury update. How's the hand?
I'm day-to-day with hurt feelings. I'm doing better. It's a long, slow process that I don't think too many players enjoy, but hopefully in the end we'll get 100% and be able to get back on the ice.
Growing up in Dryden, Ontario, did you always know you wanted to be a hockey player? And if you did you always know you wanted to be a defenseman?
Yeah, that was defense was always the easiest position. You didn't have to work too hard. You could kind of lay back, get in the crouch, and just let people come to you. So it was easier to hide back there and not have to do as much work. But as a young kid growing up in Canada, it was obviously my dream to try to make the NHL and win a Stanley Cup. And looking at the crew we have up front here, got some pretty big shoes to fill.
Well, we all know that you probably would have been in the All-Star lineup had you not been injured, but it probably gave you a chance to sit back and watch. And a lot of people are talking about how the All-Star game ended, the shootout. Now, a lot of people thought it was great. It was really entertaining. A lot of purists say, you really can't end a hockey game on a shootout. What are your thoughts?
Traditions are meant to be broken, but I think the fans would really enjoy to see a shootout at the end of a game. Obviously, a playoff game shouldn't be decided by a shootout, but I think it'd just be a great thing to keep the fans around. I'm sure the rinks would sell a lot more beer, and it'd be great for everybody.
Our sponsors at Labatt, I'm sure will love to hear that. You've had so much success in your NHL career, but I've got to think the gold medal was the pinnacle.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely a highlight of my career. I have the big three in the world categories: World Junior, World Championship, and Olympic gold medal. And now I just need to get a Stanley Cup to round that out. But the team came together at the right time, and we seemed to peak at the right time with everything that went on. I think it really brought the country together, and to see the outcry of support we received throughout the tournament, and then obviously after we won, was really a tremendous honor.
Well, I think everyone in this room enjoyed it as well. Chris Pronger, thank you. We certainly hope to see you back in the NHL soon.
22-year-old is one of the main reasons the Toronto Rock have won 3 National Lacrosse League championships in their 4 years. He's a Rock on the defense and was the NLL's Defensive Player of the Year this past season. He's also a member of Canada's national indoor lacrosse team. Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Coyle.
Pat, growing up in Orangeville, Ontario, when did you start playing lacrosse?
When I was about 7 years old, I played soccer for 1 year, and my dad just said, that's not a real man's sport, so he made me play lacrosse. And it's no offense against soccer at all. It was my dad. It wasn't me. I was 7 people.
Great start, Pat. Great start. Go on. You're on your own. No, I know you also, though. You were telling me that you also played hockey well into your career. So at what point did you have to decide whether it was going to be hockey or lacrosse, and how did you make that decision?
Pretty much when I got kicked out of school where I was playing hockey and I couldn't play hockey anymore, I started playing full-time lacrosse. But hockey and lacrosse seem to go hand in hand together. They seem to have a lot of the same elements, and actually it's when I realized I wasn't going anywhere really in hockey, and you either go play pro or semi-pro or you play in a beer league, and I didn't really want to do that, and just started playing in the summers, and luckily, the National Lacrosse League has taken off.
Well, and it absolutely has taken off. Certainly here in Toronto, the Toronto Rock have been selling out their games, 2 championships. Talk about this team. I know you're on a 4-game unbeaten streak. What are your hopes for another championship this year?
I think it's getting harder and harder because every team that we play against gets up for us. And I don't know, we have the same core of guys back though, and I think, we lost that 1 year and it was brutal. So I don't forget that feeling, and I don't want it again.
Well, you always hear about professional athletes and the luxurious lives that they have and the high taste that they have. Now, in checking your bio, I couldn't help but notice that, and I see that you've enjoyed your meal. However, apparently your favorite food is hamburger helper.
You know what? I bet you a lot of people out here like hamburger helper, and they're just afraid to admit it. Again, that has to do with my parents and what they fed me growing up, and I don't know if it's an Orangeville thing, but I love hamburger helper, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
Well, Pat Coyle, we're glad that you didn't plan the menu for us this evening, but we're thrilled that you were here. Pat Coyle of the Toronto Rock.
As evidenced by his recent performance with Canada's silver medal-winning junior squad, Gregory Campbell continues to improve. The Tillsonburg native is regarded as a solid two-way player and one of the most intelligent players in the Ontario Hockey League. Last summer, he was selected by the Florida Panthers in the NHL draft. Ladies and gentlemen, Gregory Campbell.
Lots of Canadian kids grow up hanging around hockey rinks, but given that your father is Colin Campbell, and at the time he was one of the coaching staff of the New York Rangers, I know that you grew up spending a lot of time around Madison Square Garden and the Rangers. Pretty good memories, I gotta think.
Yeah, it is. Not too many kids have the opportunity that I had. In the 8 years I spent in New York, a lot of great players played there. I think it's a pretty unique experience. You learn a lot. It's a lot of intangibles that you pick up along the way, and I consider myself pretty lucky.
Well, and we were lucky to be watching you. I know the World Junior Championships for you. You didn't end up bringing the color of medal home that you'd hoped for, but man, a silver medal at the World Juniors is quite an accomplishment. Absolutely. Can you just talk about what that experience was like for you and your 2 teammates here that enjoyed it with you?
For me, it was an overwhelming experience. 3.5 weeks you spend with a group of guys, and at the end, you really don't want to leave. It was so exciting to play in a tournament of that magnitude, and I think even for the 4 returning players, it was a different experience for them being in Canada. The support that we got and for every game across Canada and Halifax was it's pretty special and something I'll always remember.
Well, and I know for any hockey player, they talk about how exciting it was on draft day. Draft day for you was last year, and you were taken by the Florida Panthers. What was that experience like, sitting there and hearing your name called?
Draft day is a pretty nerve-wracking time. It's something that it's a lot of people think that if I get drafted, that's the end, but it's the beginning of your career, and it's important that you go to a good organization that as a good young team, and I think Florida does. And it was exciting for me to be drafted, and I was glad to be taken by Florida. But it's a long road left, and I think that's just the start.
Well, continued success with the Kitchener Rangers. We all look forward to seeing you in uniform as a Florida Panther someday. Gregory Campbell, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, I want to tell you about one item that was going very hot tonight. The Mario Lemieux skates, if you want to take a look right down here. Table number 118, Mr. Mottram bid $3,000 on the skates. So we thank you very much. A great bid and another successful night. And we're not done yet. We'll be back with the live auction in just a few minutes. Chris.
Thank you, Greg. Did a great job on the silent auction. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could now have your attention, we're getting into the formal part of the evening. And as we begin what we consider the most important part of the Conn Smythe dinner, just to get your attention and to start things off, I'd like to call upon the Minister of Health and Long-Term Care for the province of Ontario, the Honourable Tony Clement, to bring greetings from the province. Tony?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's always nice to be introduced by someone from Brampton, and I want to thank Chris for that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to represent Premier Reeves, who is in the middle of a food fight in Ottawa right now over health care. But on behalf of the Ontario government in particular, I want to thank you, all of you, for all of the corporate sponsors and all the individual sponsors and ticket buyers for supporting the Easter Seal Society. They truly are a great organization. The Government of Ontario is proud to be a partner with them when it comes to ensuring that kids in our society get opportunity and get the support they need from our society. So each of you here tonight is a partner with a wonderful organization. Thank you for your support. We will continue to support them as well, and we will be doing some great things for kids in Ontario and indeed across Canada. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tony. The Seamen's Conn Smythe dinner is, as we've mentioned, the longest running sports dinner in Canada. And tonight we celebrate our 52nd consecutive year. It is because of the hard work of many volunteers that makes this event possible. And I'm pleased to introduce the chair of the dinner committee. He's the managing editor and hockey analyst with Sportsnet. And if Ken Dryden won't give us the goods on Alexei Kovalev tonight, perhaps this man will. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Morrison.
Geez, I had to make double time to get up here. It's the first time a politician has ever gone short on a speech, but we're not complaining. It's amongst a couple of concerns I bring tonight. It's the first time I ever thought that Don Cherry would look subdued next to me. The other part is I had to get a night off work, and I left the hockey department at Sportsnet in the capable hands of Nick Kyprios. I felt pretty confident about that until I looked over here just a few minutes ago, and there's Kipper sitting there, so I'm sure everything's fine. I'd just like to take an opportunity to thank a few people, so bear with me, and beginning with all of you, because without the support of everyone in this room, and as you've heard tonight, it's gone on for a lot of years. This dinner wouldn't be as big and as successful as it's been, and I think by the end of the night you'll all know again just how wonderful a cause this is, and that all of your support is doing some wonderful things. So congratulations to all of you, and again, a sincere thank you. I've said it before, and it bears repeating, that a lot of the people up at this head table get numerous requests to do numerous ventures, and among them are dinners and a variety of other events, and they don't have to do it, but they do, and they do it out of the goodness of their heart. And I think it speaks volumes at a time when we tend to get more and more cynical about the sports world and the salaries and the people involved. And obviously we've got a great cross-section from juniors to amateur soccer players to professionals and Hall of Famers, that it's wonderful that we know on an annual basis that we can count on that support. And I thank you, the head table. I'd also like to thank our Master of Ceremonies tonight, Chris Cuthbert, for doing an outstanding job. I think, Don, even you'd agree, if Ron had moved on, he would have been all right. A little too mouthy for you, but maybe. I'd also like to thank all the volunteers who have worked tirelessly tonight to make all of this come off without a hitch, and they do so with very little recognition, but without them we could not have a dinner of this magnitude. So I thank all of the people behind the scenes. Also, of course, the Easter Seal Society for their great support. I'd like to also thank, although I get the opportunity to come up here and receive credit for for helping put this dinner together, it's a dinner committee that dedicates a lot of its time, and it's been a group that's been together for a large number of years. I think this is 10 years for me, and a lot of the people in that group have been with me throughout this. And as I say, I get an opportunity to look pretty good once a year, and I couldn't do it without all of them. So I'd like the Conn Smythe Dinner Committee, led by my Vice Chairman Nelson Millman, to stand up and acknowledge a bow, please. I said, apparently, if I say the word epitome, I'm going to have a couple women shriek, so I'm going to say epitome. Thank you very much. A little inside joke at a table where there's been too much wine. But I'd also like to congratulate our outgoing ambassadors, and everyone from the dinner last year remembers these two treasures, this outstanding people, Alex and Michael, who I'm sure had a wonderful year and did this charity and the Easter Seal Society proud. And I'd like to welcome Tom and Amber, who are going to start, I think, a very wonderful year in their lives, and they are going to be great ambassadors for the Easter Seal Society. A lot of people, as I say, we'd like to thank, and there's another gentleman who is here tonight, and we've had the great fortune of working with this wonderful company for the past couple of years, and look forward to moving on for years ahead with Siemens, who have been absolutely generous, certainly from a financial perspective as our title sponsor, and very generous in their time and their manpower and their caring for this charity. And I'd like to introduce Steve Jones, the Senior Vice President of Corporate Relations for Siemens, and present him with a plaque and also ask him to say a few words.
But talk for a second first. Thanks, Scott. It's an honor to be here and an honor for Siemens to once again serve as a title sponsor. It's the second year we participated at this level, and we're back next year. And I have to tell you, it's been a great and a wonderful ride. To know that our association with this event has helped in some small way, it's humbling, but it's also very rewarding, because one of the great things about this dinner and its support of Easter Seals is that we really get to see firsthand where the money goes and the people it helps. You know, there's a lot of worthwhile causes, and Siemens, like every other company, has a lot of choices to make. We're asked by all sorts of charities, great charities, and great causes to offer our support, and we have to make choices, and we're so happy and proud that one of our choices has been Easter Seals and the Siemens Conn Smythe dinner. And Scott, I've personally enjoyed very much working with and getting to know the members of the organizing committee, yourself and Nelson, and the rest of the team of volunteers who, along with Shelley McClagan and the staff of Easter Seals, work so hard 12 months of the year to make this a great evening. And it's also a thrill for myself and all my colleagues from Siemens who are out here tonight to get to meet and see the distinguished members of this head table, folks we have admired and idolized over the years. And it's important to remember they don't have to be here, as Scott said. They're here because they want to be here. And man, are you gorgeous. You, Amber. Is she gorgeous or what? You know, hang on. No, yeah, Don, I was actually talking about Amber. Sorry. Oh, God. Jeez. You know, Amber, last year, Alex was the ambassador, and you and her have something in common. You both have red hair. You know? And you may not know this. I mentioned this last year to those who were here last year, and you may not realize this, Amber, but redheaded people are typically 10% more intelligent than other people. And redheaded girls are typically 20 to 50% better looking than other girls. And you've proven that tonight. Now, I mean, I got to tell you, it absolutely is the best part, and you're in for a real thrill in a few minutes when you hear these two kids speak. I loved last year working with Alex and with Michael, love them both. I've really loved meeting Tom and meeting Amber. And to all of you and the other ambassadors I've met, I want you to know how much I admire you, very, very much, for your courage and your determination, mostly for your spirit and your very positive outlook on life. And I'd like just to paraphrase a little poem. You know, it's easy enough to be pleasant when life flows by like a song, but the person worthwhile is the one who can smile in the times when things go wrong. For sometimes we feel sorrow and pain, and, you know, obstacles come through the years, but the smiles that are worth the praises of all are the smiles that shine through the tears. So keep smiling, guys. We encourage all companies out there to continue the art of giving, to support great causes like this one. At Siemens, we look upon it as both an obligation and a joy. So we'll be back next year as the title sponsor, and we can hardly wait, and we hope to see all of you in 2004. Thank you.
I kind of had reddish colored hair before it fell out and went gray, so I'm not sure what that means about my intelligence, but whatever. At this time, as I mentioned earlier, it's a treat for all of us to work with a wonderful charity and see the results, and I'd like to introduce now Charlotte Gibson, the president of the Easter Seal Society, and to thank her and all her people with the society for the great support they've given this committee over the years.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening, everyone. Let me take a few minutes and talk about choices. We all have choices in life. One choice we can make tonight is to help Easter Seal kids who themselves want more choices to do exciting and challenging things with their lives. To provide them with choices, we will run a full traditional summer camp at our Lakewood property on Lake Erie. Our kids will enjoy sailing, pottery, games, and campfires. To give them new challenges in the future, we plan to rebuild our Marywood camp near Perth as Canada's premier outdoor adventure camp for children with physical disabilities. We need to build 3 new winterized cabins so that we can extend the summer season and accommodate more campers. We need to build a new swimming pool to increase usable capacity from 40 to 100. We need to redevelop the lakefront so that our kids can swim safely. We need to redevelop the docking area to provide more canoeing and sailing. And we need to construct a sports and recreation center for a full roster of athletic, recreational, and performing arts activities. Near London, we want to build Canada's first all-year residential sports and recreational camp for the disabled at our 100-acre Wood Eden property. Just like the athletes at this head table, our kids want team building and leadership challenges. Their choices are high ropes courses, sledge hockey, indoor basketball, and an indoor climbing wall. With your help, we can give them all of that, plus sailing, canoeing, and fishing at nearby lakes. We want to build a new 24-bed cabin so that we can offer more kids the thrill of summer, as well as weekend and March programs for their parents. And we want to build a year-round gymnasium so that our kids can participate in a long list of sports and recreational activities. Many children on our registry have different ideas about how to spend their summer. We will help them by funding alternative recreational choices, such as other residential camps, day camp, horseback riding, and computer camp, or taking lessons such as swimming, music, or theater. All this will position Ontario as the camp and recreational leader in the disabilities field in North America. By 2007, more than 2,000 children and youth will be enrolled annually in our camp and residential recreational choices, compared with only 614 kids in 2002. To make that happen, we need to invest $20 million over the next 5 years in capital assets, camp operations, and alternative recreational choices. We have $5.2 million in the bank for these initiatives. That means we need to raise another $15 million. We ask you to join us in helping to make these choices come true for the thousands of Easter Seal kids who are at the stage of life where only fun and challenge should be what it's all about. Let's take a few minutes now and see how an Easter Seal camper describes camp.
Dear Matt, I really liked you being my cabin counselor. You were really funny and you helped me out when I needed you.
We'll just keep these off for 15 minutes instead of wearing wet socks.
Okay.
Easter Seals Camp seems long ago and far away for Carl Ludwig, but his memories and the lessons he learned in those 2 very special weeks last summer will last a lifetime.
This is the first year that I've worked with Carl. He was the first camper that got here. He was shy for about 3 minutes. A lot of kids come to camp and they're scared. They don't want to leave home. They don't want to leave security. They come to camp. They don't know what to expect. And they get here after a couple of days. They realize, there's all these new things that they can try.
I like going canoeing. I like going sailing. And I like going swimming. And well, there's more, because I like everything, every activity.
Tons of kids have never been out camping by themselves. Some of them have never been to a campfire. The biggest change, I think, is independence. Hey, Carl, grab an end. I guess you could call it emotional independence. They learn that, hey, I can be away from my mom and dad and still survive.
Everybody grab a pole.
Just a sec. Look out, here they come. Okay, back her up a little bit more. Look how long this one is. Look how far back it is. It's almost at the girls' tent.
Do you like it in there? Yeah. Pretty cool?
We put up our tent before them. And because we are better than the boys.
Okay, for the next
what you guys are going to do is we're going to go on a giant scavenger hunt through the entire park.
Over that over.
Over this way?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. The kids that come to this camp all year long are unfortunately labeled as, being different, or, this kid's in a wheelchair, this kid has splints.
Collect 5 fallen leaves, different types if possible.
And when they come to camp, no longer are they part of a separate group, they're just, one of the kids, part of the gang.
Going to Easter Seals camp helped me learn about spina bifida and about that you should like yourself for who you are and have fun. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean you can't do stuff. I actually have had a needle in my head.
Me too, actually.
Because for my shunt, they had to put more fluid into it.
More fluid?
I think, or take it out. I don't know what they were doing, but
they would probably take it out.
It really hurt it. It really hurt it because it was right on my shunt, and that's the most sensitive part of my head.
Oh, really? Yeah, I got stitches in my head before. Just the way that we get along and the way that we can joke around, and it just feels like almost a little brother. I don't have a little brother, but I imagine that if I did, I'd probably treat my little brother the exact same way I treat Carl.
Okay, my friendship with Matt was we were really good friends because he helped me understand more about my disability. If there wasn't an Easter Seals camp, I'd just be sitting at home doing nothing. And I can't believe the days at camp went by so very fast. Matt, you were the best counselor I have ever had. And I really want to be in the same cabin as you this year. Matt, you've been a really good counselor. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte, for your words, and I'm sure everybody agrees here. The message couldn't have been brought home better than with young Carl. For 52 years, this dinner has been the debut event for the representatives of the Easter Seal kids for the coming year, and as we say at Hockey Night in Canada, the tradition continues. It takes a very special young adult who is able to commit a year of their young life to being the spokesperson of the society. Easter Seal kids between the ages of 9 and 13 are invited to apply for the position. Representatives of the society review the many applications, bearing in mind the ability of the child to speak to both large and small groups, their freedom to travel to the 60-odd events throughout the year, and the maturity of being able to deal with time away from school, as well as giving up a lot of their own free time. Quite a challenge for any young adult. In late December, the selection committee makes their decision and surprises 2 of the young applicants with a very special Christmas present, the news that they have been chosen as the spokesperson for the upcoming year. And tonight we get to share in their excitement as we are very pleased to be introducing our 2003 Easter Seal Provincial Ambassadors at their first official function. So let's first meet this young man to my right who has been a tremendously engaging dinner partner tonight, and who, by the way, with his family, had to drive here last night from Sault Ste. Marie when his flight was canceled. You can insert the airline joke there. Tom, as I mentioned, lives in the Soo. He has aspirations to be a marine biologist. He's an avid outdoorsman. He enjoys fishing and tells me that the trout in Bone Lake are plentiful. He is also a hunter, and he loves snowmobiling. He's in grade 7 and says his favorite subjects are English and history. He loves to read, especially science fiction and modern-day fantasy, and we've spent a lot of time discussing the merits of the Harry Potter movies. He has intelligence, ambition, and determination behind his young 13 years, something that his parents, Patty, Joe, and Tim, surely are very proud of. Please congratulate and welcome our 2003 Easter Seal Provincial Ambassador, Tom Garside. Tom?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 52nd Siemens Conn Smythe Sports Celebrities Dinner and Auction. I am Tom Garside, one of the Easter Seals Provincial Ambassadors for 2003. I am very glad to be here, and I would like to thank Mr. Scott Morrison, Chair, and Mr. Nelson Millman, Vice Chair of the Conn Smythe Committee, and the whole Volunteer Dinner Committee for making this event possible. As well, on behalf of all Easter Seals kids, I'd like to thank Siemens for again being our title sponsor. I am 12 years old and live in Sault Ste. Marie. I was born 9 weeks early, resulting in my having cerebral palsy, a disability affecting my mobility and some fine motor skills. I walk with 2 canes and use a wheelchair for long distances. My disability does not stop me from having fun or from having dreams of becoming a marine biologist. In the summer, I like to fish and swim, and in the winter, I like to fish and snowmobile. When I don't have homework, I love to read about history and science. It's a great honor to be the Easter Seals Provincial Ambassador. I was the ambassador for Sault Ste. Marie in 2001. I had a lot of fun meeting people and talking. This year, I am proud to represent all the disabled kids across the province. Since an early age, I've been a client of Easter Seals. They have helped finance my many trips to Toronto for constellations and 2 surgeries. I know I speak for many Northern children when I thank you for assistance in this regard. As well, I've benefited from the medical clinics that Easter Seals brings to our Northern communities. There are many other ways Easter Seals supports children with physical disabilities and their families through research, family networking, finance of equipment, and of course enabling thousands of kids to attend summer camp. This summer will be my 4th. I am looking forward to going for many years. This summer I hope to catch a pike and continue mountain wheelchair racing at Camp Awakening. Through a new Recreational Choices program, the cost of summer camp is high, but with your support, I am able to go back and see my friends. On behalf of all Easter Seals kids, I'd like to thank you for attending this evening and for supporting this wonderful organization. You touch many lives with your generosity. Thank you.
Well, Tom, a standing ovation. Very, very fine job. Now, I got a couple of questions for you. Can you tell everybody, sort of in words, what does it mean to be the Easter Seal Ambassador?
Well, I think it means that I'm able to raise awareness to people across Ontario about how much this organization, Easter Seals, and sponsors for its events help all kids, all the 20,000 kids across Ontario reach their goals by going to summer camp and many other things. Everyone is very nice, and I sincerely like to thank them.
Tom, what gives you the courage to overcome your physical challenges?
There's a lot of things. My relatives help, and I think that I've got too much to do to just sit around and do nothing and not overcome my disability.
Now, you've talked about loving the great outdoors and snowmobiling and hunting and several different things. I also have given you a nickname for some reason this weekend. What is that nickname? Would you share that with them?
My nickname is PhD because I hope to earn 1 PhD or more within my lifespan.
So here is Tom, Mr. PhD, but Tom also shared that he might have some other aspirations in life.
Well, what I wanted to do is be a marine biologist for sure, get a PhD. I wouldn't mind being a monopoly tycoon, which means I'd pretty much be tycooning in a few fields: fast food, maybe building materials, and what was the other thing?
Large companies.
Lots of I wasn't going to own my own company, but fast food, building materials and just
Companies that do machine parts?
yeah, so machining parts, and of course, I don't know if I'll be able to do this, but I hope to do that and definitely become a marine biologist with a PhD.
Well, there you have it. Tom Garside, Mr. PhD.
Great job, Tom. Congratulations. And how about the seating arrangement here? Talk about kindred spirits, Pinball and Garside. That's pretty good. Now let's turn our attention to the left here and this young lady from Brantford. And I knew Amber was the right pick as soon as I met her, and it was confirmed when she had Don Cherry running up and down the head table getting autographs within about 5 minutes of getting into the room. She lives in Brantford. She's in grade 8 at St. Mary's School, and when asked about her new role, she says, "I'm excited about meeting new people and doing special events, and I love giving speeches." Great confidence for a 13-year-old. Amber enjoys swimming, horseback riding, and most of all, singing along with her favorite country singer, and I think Don's, Shania Twain. Her parents, Connie and Fred, have instilled in Amber a contagious enthusiasm for life and overcoming challenges. And there's also plenty of excitement in the house because there's a new 2-week-old baby sister for Amber, and isn't that nice as part of this excitement for the last month? Also, her brother Matt is the biggest Trish Stratus fan of all time. We have to deal with that a little bit later. Anyway, Amber will make an incredible role model for other youth with physical disabilities. Please congratulate and welcome our 2003 Easter Seal Provincial Ambassador, Amber Pelzer.
She does look like Shania, doesn't she? She's just as pretty. Okay, go ahead.
Hello and welcome to the 52nd Siemens Conn Smythe Sports Celebrities Dinner and Auction. My name is Amber Pelzer and I'm 13 years old and I have spina bifida, which is a neurotube birth defect. This means I was born with a hole in my spine. I'm from Brantford, Ontario, where I live with my mom and dad and 2 younger brothers, and a few weeks ago I was blessed with a new baby sister. I attend St. Mary's School where I'm in grade 8, and I'm looking forward to attending high school in September. I really enjoy writing speeches and have won overall for my school the last 4 years. I'm looking forward in the future to becoming either a writer or possibly a counselor for other children with physical disabilities so that I can help them see how truly special they are and how much potential they have. Everyone has obstacles. It's how you overcome them that counts. I wanted to tell all of you how honored I am to have been chosen with my partner Thomas as the 2003 Easter Seal Ambassador for the province of Ontario. This is a great honor to represent such a wonderful organization. I would like to thank Mr. Scott Morrison, Chair, Nelson Millman, Vice Chair, and the Dinner Committee for their hard work on this great event. I would also like to thank our title sponsor, Siemens, for your support of this fantastic event. You see, I have first-hand knowledge about the Easter Seal Society Ontario, as my family has been involved with them since I was born February 22nd, 1989. The Easter Seal Society is known for their contributions to costly equipment such as wheelchairs, standers, and ramps to make life for kids like me so much more accessible. But Easter Seals is so much more than that. They send me to totally accessible camps like Lakewood and Port Colborne, where nothing is out of my reach or ability. They help with recreational choices that allow kids like me to go to other camps too. They also educate the world about children and young adults with physical disabilities and their needs. They educate new moms about the importance of good nutritional health during pregnancy, such as the importance of taking folic acid before as well as after conception to help prevent spina bifida. There are over 20,000 children and young adults with physical disabilities that need your help. Without generous supporters and volunteers like you, life for myself and kids like me sure would be a boring place. My mom always tells me to remember I'm not disabled, I am differently abled. With all of your help, you make me feel like I can do anything, even move mountains. Please pat yourselves on the back in case in this next year I don't get the chance to get to each and every one of you. Thanks once again to all of you for giving me this opportunity to be one of the faces of 2003 that represents all of your hard work. I truly hope I can make you all proud to be a part of this great organization. Keep up the great work. The kids need you. I need you. Thank you.
Boy, I'll tell you. Wow. Well, I can see why you won the speech contest all the time. Boy, how really you are something. I sat down. She says, "Here's the program. Get it and sign all these autographs." Right now? She's right now. Get going. So redheads are all the same, I think. Eh? Well, now, you live in Brantford. There's another famous guy that comes from there. Have you ever met him?
I have when I was really little, and I met his father, Walter, and I went to his house.
Pretty good guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. Now, who's your favorite team?
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, she knows the right thing to say. Now, I suppose it's Sundin or something. Who's your favorite player?
Travis Green.
Travis Green. Now, I love that guy. Remember that? I won't go on to that again. McLean loves him in another way, but anyhow. Tell us, like Tom said, what does it mean for you to be here tonight? And by God, she does look like Shania Twain now. Like she is gorgeous. Anyhow, go ahead. Tell us what it means to you to be here tonight.
To be here tonight means to me that I can meet everybody who's very nice and help and support the great organization of the Easter Seals, and just being here and meeting all the celebrities.
Isn't that wonderful? Now, who's your favorite guy on television?
McLean.
Ron McLean? Oh. I thought redheads were smart. No, she says, shall I tell it as a joke? That's what it was. Anyhow, we're so proud for you, and Tom, what you've done is unbelievable, and I know you'll do a great job for the rest of the year. Thanks very much, Amber. You're beautiful. Thanks very much.
Jason Worth comes from a long line of professional baseball players. One of them, his uncle Dick Schofield, won a World Series with the team in 1993. The 23-year-old outfielder spent the 2002 season with the Syracuse Chiefs before joining the big club in September. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Worth.
Well, Carlos Tosca was up earlier, and one of the reasons for optimism for the 2003 season, one of the great young players coming up, Jason Worth, and I don't know, Jason, you heard him talk about the song Anticipation. Are you going to get a Carly Simon CD, put it in, help back cleanup maybe?
Yeah, I haven't heard that song, but yeah, I'm a little anticipated, but we'll see.
You share your manager's anticipation, obviously an exciting off-season for you.
Yeah, no doubt. Coming into this year, probably some good things to happen. We'll see what goes on. Spring training comes right around the corner, and come in ready, and hopefully I'll get some at bats, show what I can do, and we'll see where it goes.
What's it like when you get the call up in September? You're playing AAA, you get the call up to come to the bigs.
It was pretty incredible, lifelong dream. Get up there, and it was my first year playing the outfield, and I get up there, and Carlos calls me in and tells me I'm playing right field and asks me if I've been playing right, or taking fly balls in right like they told me, and I haven't even stepped foot in right field yet, and so it was my first outing in the outfield in right field, and it's in the Sky Dome, and of course the first batter of the game, Soriano, playing the Yankees, hits a fly ball on the second pitch, so it was quite an adventure, but I handled it okay.
Baptism by fire, the best way to do it. Mentioned your uncle Dick Schofield played for the Toronto Blue Jays. What does he remember? How does he look back on his experience?
He had a real good experience here. In fact, when I got traded over, he was the first one to call me and congratulate me and told me, it's a good city, great people, great fans. Playing the Sky Dome is like nothing else, and he was all for it. He had a great experience here. He, got a World Series ring and was part of a championship.
Well, hoping for a World Series ring, but appreciate your being part of the good cause tonight and joining us at Easter Seals. Jason Worth, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Satisfaction guaranteed when Canada's First Lady of the Wrestling Ring is in the house. The Toronto native has had a rapid rise to superstardom with the WWE, winning the Women's Championship 3 times, and most recently was named Diva of the Decade. Ladies and gentlemen, Trish Stratus.
I don't know if people know I'm still up here for the interview, Trish, but...
well, that applause was for you, I think, maybe.
No, I don't. Well, here's the embarrassing part. On my script, Darren Flutie was supposed to be here, and he couldn't make it, and I was stuck here, and the first question I had was, how come you score so often? So, Fortunately, that could have been real awful. That slipped out.
It could have been. Good thing you decided not to ask that question at all.
Yeah, exactly. You came in the Fan 590 many times, and you were the girl next door. From what neighborhood, I don't know. But, and all of a sudden you talked about these great plans, and here you are 5 years later. I mean, it's just worked out perfectly. It's been quite a ride. How did it all come together?
Actually, well, it started off with I was studying biology kinesiology at York University, and if we all remember, in '97, the professors went on strike, which we cursed them at the time. Now I thank them because during that time when I was waiting for school to come back in session, it became a fitness model. My notoriety within that industry got me noticed by the World Wrestling Federation, and instead of becoming a doctor, Mom has a wrestler as.
How's Mom feel about that?
She's very happy. I mean, my parents are both fans now, and they're just happy to see me successful and enjoying what I'm doing.
Now, we talk, a guy like Jason Worth talks about making it to the bigs, playing in the major leagues. When do you know you made it in the bigs in wrestling? When does it hit you that you've made the big time?
Well, I think once I held the coveted prize, the World Wrestling Entertainment Women's title. So I'm a 3-time holder right now, and that's what we go out there to do in the ring. We go out there and we perform, and we have these goals to entertain the fans as well as attain goals ourselves, such as attaining the world title.
Now, how do you stay grounded when you come back to Toronto?
I call you up, and you make sure I stay grounded.
Unfortunately, that's all. What's the international scene like? I know you just got back, and your Trish Stratus is now an international star, not just a North American star.
Yeah, we just got back from the Far East tour, and we were in Korea as well as Tokyo for 2 days. And it was quite an experience because to go so far away from home and to see the cultures over there, and it's amazing because it's the same product, yet it's viewed differently from them. The fans are very different, especially in Japan. It's so part of their culture. It literally was that quiet. And I thought, is anything going on? And they were studying our wrestling until the big move happened, and then they clapped and applauded and were appreciative of what we were doing. So it was very interesting and quite a different, culture shock, and it was very interesting, and I was grateful for the experience.
So what's next in the world of wrestling? What's coming up?
Actually, the last Monday of this month, we will be at the Air Canada Centre, so that's coming up, and I plan on delivering some Stratisfaction there.
Well, as I say, literally came and used to come in at odd hours of the Fan and talk wrestling and everything else, and here you are, and we're thrilled for your success and really pleased you're here to help Easter Seals tonight. Trish Stratus, ladies and gentlemen.
Known as the Roadrunner throughout his Hall of Fame career, this speedy winger scored a career-high 47 goals during the 1971-72 season, and later that year played for Team Canada at the Summit Series. A former captain of the Montreal Canadiens, he won a remarkable 10 Stanley Cups during his time with the club. Ladies and gentlemen, Yvan Cournoyer.
So Yvan, Richard, Beliveau, Trish Stratus, which is the most difficult act to follow?
I think her. Can you believe I have that many hairs when I was young?
I was talking earlier, Marcel Dion said, I was asking about obstruction, and he said it doesn't matter back then how the rules were, they could never catch Yvan Cournoyer. You were called the Roadrunner for a reason. But I'm wondering, some of the slower guys out there, have you noticed the change? I mean, people complain about the obstruction creeping into hockey. Was it different when you broke in as a rookie in the 1960s?
Well, I think now the obstruction is more, but I find the players are faster and bigger. And maybe the ice getting too small. The speed is improved. Everybody is so much better. The equipment is better. But you let the ice the same size than it used to be. So I think maybe if you have a bigger ice surface ring, then that was less hooking and interference.
What do you think of when you come back to Toronto? We think of Montreal beating Toronto quite a bit when you were a part of the Canadiens. What are your memories?
Well, you'd be surprised, but I think a lot of the second game in '72 against the Russian, when we came back and win that game, I always said that was the most important game for us. If we were to lose that game, I don't think we would ever come back. So Jim Ralph asked me last night, he said, when in '72, when Paul Anderson scored the last goal, and an English guy jump in your arms. He said, how did you feel? Well, I said, I'm a member of the Montreal Canadiens. We never let anybody down.
Ralphie always talks about, was Foster Hewitt the first guy that couldn't pronounce your name? He could name all the Russians, but couldn't pronounce Cornouaille.
Well, he's not the only one.
What about the Montreal Canadiens now? You're an ambassador with the hockey team now. Yes. There were worries a few years ago looking for a buyer, a few years out of the playoffs. It seems things are back on the right track. What do you think?
I think so, but like all for the Canadian team, if the rule don't change in 2004, I don't think we're going to be very successful. I know Toronto's got a good team this year, and Montreal's getting better, and Ottawa having a hard time, and the Oilers, with the amount of money, the difference of the U.S. money and the Canadian dollar, I don't think we're going to do very well for a long time.
Well, I'll tell you, Team Canada 72, we got to cheer for him. 10 Stanley Cups with the Montreal Canadiens, where if you're the Habs, you cheered for him. Yvon Cornouaille. Thank you, Yvon.
Thank you very much.
Derek Roy's feisty play and diminutive size has drawn comparisons to Doug Gilmour and Theo Fleury. His energetic two-way play and solid penalty killing for Team Canada at the recent World Junior Hockey Championships were major reasons why the club came away with a silver medal. Roy is currently starring in the OHL with the Kitchener Rangers. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek Roy.
You know, Derek, you look at organizations like Kitchener, Chris Pronger came from Peterborough, Oshawa, there's a lot of great teams with a great OHL tradition. What is it that makes Kitchener always such a strong junior hockey power?
The fan base in Kitchener is unbelievable. We always get 6,000 fans at our games cheering for us, and you know, it's great to play in Kitchener, and I love it. I played 4 years there, and you meet great friends in the OHL, and it's a great development. You leave your family and you meet new friends, and it's really fun.
Everyone always asks about the World Junior experience. What was that like?
Oh, unbelievable! It was unbelievable in Halifax. You don't understand how excited we were for all the fans, all you guys cheering for us. It was great. Thank you very much. And you know, me, Greg, and Steve, we went out there and played our hearts out for you guys. And you know, we didn't bring back the gold, but I think we're happy with the silver now.
Well, certainly, yes. You look at Yvon and Marcel, a little different size than, say, Chris Pronger. And certainly, you're not a small guy, but you're not as big as some of the other guys. I mean, what's it like, or how do you succeed when you're not the big man's game nowadays in the NHL?
Oh, it's really hard. It's really different, and you just got to work as hard as you possibly can. And to get around those big guys like Chris Pronger, maybe next year, it's really tough. But you know, you gotta fight through that. And you know, I've been small all my life, and I'm not going to grow anymore. Hopefully, my dad says I might grow, but I don't think so. But I don't know. You just got to work. You just got to work as hard as you possibly can. And for all the small hockey players out there, you know, Theo Fleury and all those guys made it, so anybody can make it.
Yeah, take it from an expert. You won't grow. Okay. Just last thing, though, I want to tell you, Steve and Greg and yourself, all from the Kitchener Rangers, and if you want to think of a perfect dream, there was a time a very wise general manager, way ahead of his time, had 3 first-round picks and took all 3 players from a single Junior A team, the Belleville Bulls. And wouldn't that be a dream if all 3 of you guys could be picked from the Kitchener Rangers in the first round?
That was pretty stupid. Who did that?
Oh, I don't know. Just some guy. He kind of faded into oblivion. That's the way it worked. Thanks for going along with it. He has no idea about the trade, but he went along with it. Fortunately, too many of you remember. But Derek, anyway, thanks very much. Congratulations on your success.
Good being here.
In only 8 NHL seasons, Ken Dryden won 5 Vezina trophies as the league's top goaltender and guided the Montreal Canadiens to 6 Stanley Cups during the 1970s. Dryden was also a goaltender for Team Canada in the 1972 Summit Series. Since retiring, he has written several books and is the current president of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Dryden.
Well, for Leaf fans, I think Ed Belfour went a long way in making us realize that there is life after Curtis Joseph. We all know Gary Roberts is set to come back any day now, but we also know that the trade deadline is coming up in March. Now, can you tell us, do you think that the Leaf roster that we have right now is the roster we're going to see for the end of the year, or is there a chance we might see some changes?
I would guess that there will be some changes. But you can't, it takes two to make a trade. And so whatever your own intentions are doesn't mean that that's somebody else's intentions. And I think that what we would be looking at is somebody who is a more significant player. Just adding depth, I'm not sure, is something that is going to improve us an awful lot. We're one of those teams that is in the hunt. We are a contender for the end. This is probably the most open season of the last number of years. There's no odds-on favorite to win. There will be some jockeying amongst the better teams, and we're going to be part of all of that.
And I'll bet there's some people out here that think Alexei Kovalev would look pretty good in a Toronto Maple Leaf uniform.
Well, the awkward part of all of that, of course, is that any player that isn't on the Leafs plays on another team, and I think it would be a fairly uncomfortable thing to have other teams talking about going after Matt Sundin while Matt Sundin is a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So these are things that really teams can't talk about.
Well, I want to talk about one thing I know we can talk about is your playing days in Montreal. A lot is being made right now about goaltenders' equipment and how big it is. Now, when you think of your equipment when you were playing with those great teams, the Montreal Canadiens, and yet you see the kind of equipment that an Ed Belfour has now, do you think that the goaltenders now have a bit of an unfair advantage?
Well, it's just very different. I mean, if you go back to the early images of Georges Vezina, all you could see was net. As you moved ahead in time, the equipment became bigger, but still pretty small. I mean, I was somebody who people talked about as filling the net. You look at any of the images of Canadiens games in the 1970s, and you see lots of net. What's really happened is that at one time, the understanding of equipment was that it was to protect the body. Somewhere along the line, it became acceptable for equipment to protect the net. And that's a different thing. And yet, it's very easy to confuse the two. And it's a much more difficult thing now for a scorer to score because you see a whole lot less. And goalies, I mean, the basic job of the goalie is to defeat your opponent before the shot even takes place. And the way you defeat him is you give him very little to shoot at. And so now there's so much less to shoot at that probably 90% of the players, 90% of the time, are defeated before they even let their shot go.
Well, you weren't defeated too many times when you were with the Montreal Canadiens. 5 Vezina trophies, 6 Stanley Cups. I think we all wish that the Stanley Cup will be coming to Toronto this June.
It would be
Thank
nice
you very
thing.
much. Ken Dryden.
Thanks, Christine. Thank you.
This Blue Jays outfielder has proved a mainstay as the team's leadoff hitter. The 24-year-old speedster has batted .300 or better and scored at least 100 runs in each of the past 3 seasons, and in 2001 became just the 4th Blue Jay to record 200 hits in one season. Ladies and gentlemen, Shannon Stewart.
Well, Shannon, it seems that there are few athletes in sports today that actually spend their entire career with one team. So far in your career, since 1992, you have been a Toronto Blue Jay.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to spend my whole career here, and I love Toronto. I love being here. This is the only place to play. Great fans, and I can't say enough about the city. Great city, and I want to be here for the rest of my career.
You heard it here, folks. Now, I know in the off-season you spend your time in Miami. Now with spring training just a couple of weeks away, what have you been doing and now gearing up for spring training?
Well, I've been working out with Desiree Williams, who ran track here. We've been working at York University, and I've just been working on my form running and trying to keep myself flexibility so I won't have these injuries that I've been having with my hamstrings. So we'll be ready to rock in 2003.
There you go. Now, I know you've been playing baseball since you were a little kid, but have you ever stopped to think, if you didn't become a baseball player, just what you might be doing now?
Well, my mom's a school teacher, so I'll probably be a PE teacher or something, a counselor with kids. I love kids, and my whole thing is to help the kids, and that's what I'm here for today.
Well, I was going to say, you definitely are helping out the kids today. I know you've had a chance to meet Tom and Amber. What are your thoughts on the Easter Seal Society and the great work that we've all seen tonight that they do?
Very great foundation. I'm very excited to be here, and you can't say enough of what everybody's done. I hope to be here next year and continue to be a part of this great organization.
Well, that I'm sure we all hope that you're back here again. Now, looking forward to the Blue Jay season. We've heard from Carlos and Jason. Now, what are your predictions for the Blue Jay season ahead?
Well, I think we're going to have a good season next year. We got a lot of young guys. It's like being in college. These guys are crazy. We've got a great manager. He's a great motivator, and I think we're going to do well.
Well, we're all looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Shannon Stewart.
A gifted playmaker, in addition to being a 6-time 50-goal scorer, are a couple of reasons why only 3 players in NHL history have scored more career points than Marcel Dionne. Teamed in Los Angeles with Triple Crown line mates Charlie Simmer and Dave Taylor, Dionne took home the Art Ross Trophy in 1979-80 as the NHL's top scorer. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcel Dionne.
Well, Marcel, as we just saw, obviously you were 1/3 of the famous Triple Crown line. Why do you think that you, Dave Taylor, and Charlie Simmer were such a successful line in Los Angeles?
Because of the colors. Do you believe those colors? Actually, it's like anything else. It's just the right chemistry. You can have good pairs. You can find 1 or 2 guys, but to find a third one is very, very difficult. And it takes time, and you hope for, and finally it happened with Charlie Simmer. Dave Taylor just came in and had a lot of speed, dedication, and when Big Charlie came along, and Glenn Goldup is here tonight, he played with him, and everybody look at him and says, well, he's a big guy, but he can't skate. I'm a short guy, right? But I can't do nothing, right? I'm a short guy. But when you combine all this together, it's what called his chemistry, and Charlie was the right guy, and we went on to be very successful and make the game very, very easy to play.
Well, in your Hall of Fame career, you won the Art Ross Trophy, the Lady Byng twice, and of course, who can forget you were part of Team Canada 72. When you think back to your Hall of Fame career, is there one highlight that you can choose?
Yeah, it's easy. Nobody knows about this. It happened in 1993. I was out of the game. Actually, I witnessed the greatest thing that anybody could really give me, and it's a lot of people don't know this, but my young brother played for the Montreal Canadiens, and he went on to win the Stanley Cup. And yes, it's nice. As a youngster, I grew up to watch the Montreal Canadiens, and like I said today, that my first professional autograph was from Yvan Cournoyer, so that's how far we go back. And to the Roadrunner, can you believe this? You're right. You know what? Nobody could stop this guy. I don't care what they're telling me about the game today. They couldn't stop him anyway. But you know what? I've scored 3 goals or maybe 6 goals against Ken Dryden. That was nice. You know what? You can't score in the parameters. You got to score in front of the net. Did you watch all those young guys today, those hockey players? They're beautiful. They have no scars. You've got to pay the price. But actually, it was my young brother that, looking back and playing against the Los Angeles Kings with Wayne Gretzky, And if this ever happened to any one of you, this was the ultimate. I've been through a lot of things, but I was there with my wife in Montreal when they won. And obviously, if they lose, LA wins. And that's the last time I ever heard from the Kings anyway. But what a thing to be a part of.
Well, I know in your rookie season, you had a phenomenal year. You beat the record in points. However, you were a runner-up to the Calder Trophy. Do you remember who actually took home the Calder that year? I think it was a goaltender.
They went by size. They like the size, You know what happens with short people? You know what happens? Why don't they make a show instead of having a bachelor that comes on a horse that's 6'5" to make one that's 5'7"? That would change things. I watch all those girls. You don't know what it's like tonight. You know what? Goldie, Bob Nevin, if Trish would have played right wing with me in Los Angeles, she would have scored 50 goals. Do you agree?
Well, a lot of us, I think, feel that you probably could be in the talk show business having your own show, but do tell us, what are you doing these days?
I'm doing nothing. I'm just looking at you. You're beautiful. I've learned how to be a floater. What can I tell you? That's how you be. I was in Los Angeles for all those years, and believe me, when you look at them, they are floaters, but they look beautiful.
Marcel Dion, a Hall of Fame hockey career, and we're just thrilled that you could be with us here this evening. Thank you.
As head coach of the Boston Bruins in the mid-1970s, this Kingston, Ontario native led his club to 5 consecutive first-place finishes and took home the Jack Adams Award as NHL Coach of the Year in 1976. For the past 22 years, he's been seen and heard across the country as the flamboyant and outspoken co-host of Coach's Corner on Hockey Night in Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Cherry.
I don't want to say anything, but this banquet's so long, I had brown hair when I came in here. My suit's gone out of fashion. Go ahead.
Don, you will never go out of fashion. Look, we were just talking with Ken Dryden, talking about the trade deadline approaching. Now, what do you think? Can you see Alexei Kovalev in a Leaf uniform?
Well, that's what we need, another European so Roberts can carry him in the playoffs. We already have Kovalev and Hoagland and Reichel and Renberg. We got all those guys. Go ahead.
I feel like I should have a pun
am I saying
right
anything?
now.
You saw the series last year. Did one European do anything in the playoffs? Wouldn't want to go out and get another good Canadian boy, Team Euro, but go ahead.
Speaking of good Canadian boys, earlier we heard from Rob Ramage. Obviously was a part of your life with the Colorado Rockies. Bring back some memories for you?
Rob Ramage, he came out, he was just a kid. And we had a good club, but we had a Swedish sieve. Maybe that's why I got to hate Europeans. Hardy Astrom. I knew we were in trouble when we had a breakout play. When everybody knows what a breakout play, the coach gets it at center ice and rifles it on the goalie, and he sets it down. I scored on my first shot. I knew I was going to be... I kept saying to Rob, I found him one time about halfway through the season. He really did. Rob, remember you had tears in your eyes, and I said there'd be better days ahead, and by gall, there is, boy. Stanley Cup winner, great guy.
Well, and who can forget your days behind the bench in Boston, obviously a part of those great teams, great players, Bobby Orr, Phil Esposito being a couple of them.
Well, you know, I heard, and Chris to me, when in fact, I mentioned your name all the time on the prospect game. Get it out like Pronger, just puts it up and stuff like that. And he did win the most valuable player in the Norris, but one year, Bobby won the Norris, the scoring championship. He won the most valuable player in the league, the Conn Smythe in the playoffs. He was unbelievable. The very last year he played, Steve and Chris, think of this. He had 46 goals, 89 assists, and he was plus 128. He played that fall and won the most valuable player, and that was his last year. And you asked me, what's the best hockey player in the world?
I think we know the answer.
Plus he used to hit, fight, God forbid now in the league, but fight and block shots. Yeah, and you know, With Phil Esposito, I'll just tell you a story with Phil Esposito. Phil Esposito got 65 goals and 76 goals one year, but I was always in love with Bobby. I mean, how can you not be in love? I mean, yeah, I was in love with Bobby, and he used to say all the time, all you do is talk about Bobby. You never talk about me, never talk about you, and this is a true story. He got traded, and we were in Vancouver. And I phoned Bobby and I said, we just traded Phil. Boy, he was mad. So we go down to his room, it was raining and everything in Vancouver. So it was 7:30 in the morning. And we walk in and Bobby goes over and stands beside the window, raining and everything. And I said, Phil, you've been traded. He started to cry. I'm not kidding. He says, Grapes, if you tell me that I have been traded to New York Rangers, I'm going to jump out that window. I said, Bobby, get away from that window. That's a true story. Anyhow.
Well, Don, we all know that you were a good hockey player, a great hockey coach.
That's good, that's right.
But, however, you became a superstar when you started to work in television. Talk about, I mean, how did you become this Canadian icon?
I don't know how he did it, just good looks, personality, and humility and all that, right, Luba? But no, I'll tell you, you always get brought down. I know I got to get going here. We were supposed to be out of here, but I'll tell one more story. You always get taken down a peg or two, and you think you get on that Hockey Night in Canada. Chris now is starting to feel that way. You think you're pretty hot stuff, you know. You think you're a movie star, Howie Meeker Bull and all that stuff, you know. So you always get taken down, and it happened to me, and it's a true story. I was in the Toronto airport, an old guy and an old lady was in front of me and everything, and the old lady keeps looking back at me and saying, you know, the old guy says to her, you know this guy? So I sure do. I see him on television all the time. So I'm getting ready to write, you know, good luck, Don Cherry. And so the old guy says, well, who is he? She looked me right in the eye and said, he's a friendly giant. And he got fired too, just like me. Yeah, that's it. Hey, well, that's it.
Don, I just have to say, actually, on behalf of the committee, I've been on this committee for 10 years, and I know that you get 1 million requests for 1 million different dinners, and we all know that Rose Cherry's Home is obviously a cause that is near and dear to your heart. But I must say that we totally appreciate your involvement in this evening's event, particularly because I happen to know that it's your birthday tonight.
Yes.
And we're thrilled that you would decide to spend your birthday with us, and to help us celebrate your birthday, I want to bring up Trish.
Oh, all right. All right.
And Trish, perhaps we could...
Happy birthday to you. Wait a minute.
You sound like Marilyn Monroe, remember?
And you know what else? That's a blonde who wasn't Canadian and didn't watch hockey, so forget that.
Yeah, forget her.
Instead, let's have some hockey-loving Canadians join along.
All right.
And can we all sing Happy Birthday?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Don. Happy birthday to me.
And now let's send it back to Chris Cuthbert.
How good was that? Don, congratulations. Thank you. And I know why I was an 88-1 shot to be your partner. Chris Simpson looked pretty comfortable there beside you. I think we may have a replacement, if not Trish. Here's Nelson Millman, who is the vice chair of this dinner, and I know you have a lot of thank yous you want to say.
Well, first of all, thank you to everybody here for putting something back. And as part of the Fan 590, we've been involved with the dinner now for 6 years. I'm a little disappointed I didn't hear either one of our ambassadors mention that they wanted to be in broadcasting, because I was sure I had replacements for Marsden and Landry, but You guys don't want to reconsider that, I guess. No, okay, fine. So I guess I'm stuck with grapes. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to the committee. Thank you to the volunteers. And of course, thank you to all you folks. And a special thank you to this gentleman who took on this chore. Said, no, I don't think I can do it. And you know what? You've been fabulous. And thank you, Chris.
No, that's thank you. It's a real pleasure. He did a little arm twisting only because I knew how good this dinner was. And I didn't want to bring it down, but I appreciate that. We also have a few other thank yous. Captivate Networks, the Toronto Sun, Slam Sports, Rogers Television, and once again, the Fan 590. I won't get a job with you guys saying that, will I? The Fan 590 for all their support for this great dinner. Thanks, Nelson.
Thank you, Chris.
Now, the dinner committee has advised me that a tally is in for tonight's proceeds to the Easter Seal Society. Thanks to the generosity of all of you out there, making it another fantastically successful day. I'm pleased to report this year's dinner has certainly turned out to be one of the most successful in history. We have raised just over $350,000. Thank you. That brings our tally to close to over $4.5 million since this event has been in inception for Easter Seal kids and their families. So again, thank you, over $4.5 million. Actually, Don, it should be noted, we're going to be early tonight. Not bad. Just a few more thank yous before we go. We want to say thank you to Sportsnet for the great video clips tonight on all of our fantastic head table guests. And a special salute to Christine Simpson and Gord Stellick. Boy, I thought they did a great job, didn't they? Head table, you were marvelous. Thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being a part of this dinner and auction tonight. Now would you please rise and show your appreciation to our head table guests as they leave the ballroom, and drive safely tonight as you go home. Thanks again, everybody.